Hello again. It's time for another week of Prep Football Tonight, sponsored by National Scouting Report. Thanks for watching. I am Brandon Reed. We have a huge night of prep football on Tubetown, as this is our first ever night covering games in both Arkansas and Tennessee live on Tubetown and the NFHS network. Our Arkansas game tonight features the West Memphis Blue Devils taking on the Blytheville Chickasaws, while our Tennessee game features another Tipton County rivalry as the Covington Chargers take on the Brighton Cardinals. A huge night on Tubetown with two games featuring big non-conference rivals. So how are we able to do this? Well, you've heard the buzz over the last several weeks about a couple of different partnerships that Ritter Communications and Tubetown have established this year. One is with Arkansas State University and their fully decked out ESPN3 mobile production trailer. Number two is our new partnership with the NFHS network, allowing us to send our games live out over the internet and to the world. Our West Memphis versus Blytheville game tonight will be an NFHS exclusive, while the Covington Brighton game will be available on Tubetown Channel 21 in West Tennessee and the NFHS network. Now, with an NFH network subscription, you will be able to watch the Blue Devils and the Chickasaws here tonight live, or you could even watch both of our live games here simultaneously if you wanted to. What you'll need to do is go to nfhsnetwork.com and subscribe now. The subscription is $9.95 a month, but the value goes way beyond that. Not only do you get every Tubetown game all year in Arkansas and Tennessee live, you get the best of prep football all across the country. You can watch college and pro stars of tomorrow in high school today. Live games, replays, hundreds of games each week with your NFHS network subscription. Again, go to nfhsnetwork.com or follow the link on our website, tubetownonline.com, and subscribe now. So, let's take a moment to recap last week's Tubetown kickoff to prep football in Arkansas, Newport at Gosnell. Newport makes their way back into Region 3 and kicked off things against a familiar foe. The two teams met 4 times previously. They split those 4 meetings. Friday was the rubber match, a decade in the making. Would Newport spoil the opener in Gosnell, or would they have a rude welcome back to Region 3 in the Pirate Ship? So let's go to the highlights with this week's version of the 2-minute drill.
Snap, he does handle it, left side screen play, pass leads him. He's going to cross midfield, he's going to... Forrester hands it off to Ellis. Ellis has some room, right side, folks, he's gone. It's a reverse play, and Young gets it now. It still goes in motion, left side screen pass. Right, touchdown. He's going to throw again. Over the top, got a man open if he hits him, and he does, and we've got a touchdown Pirates. Trying to break this tie, it's going to be a pass play. Partee to the right side, he's got a man open, and it's a touchdown. Right on the left side, it's a rollout play. Forrester rolling, Forrester passing, hits Neal. He's got room on the right side, jukes up, cuts back middle, and he stops on the door. Handoff. Neal up the gut, it's close. Fumble into the end zone, and Gosnell has... Forrester hands it off to Ellis. Ellis gains some yards near the marker, just short. Neal with him on his left side, dropping back, they're going to go for it. Pass into the end zone, it's incomplete, and it's intercepted. Again, it's a 4th down scenario for Newport. He's going to pass it. Over the middle, the pass is complete. It's a first down, if not more. They're down all. Forrester drops back. We're going to have a pass play. Right side hits Cook. Cook drops.
Newport played hard and physical from the start, but a goal line fumble recovered by the Pirates, and Gosnell squeaks out the win 20-14. Now, Newport got scores from Jerry Ellis on a 15-yard run and a 14 reception from Jay Crite via sophomore Cash Forrester quarterbacking. But Gosnell caught Newport off guard with 2 of their 3 scores by passing downfield. Now, the Pirates are a double-wing power running team, so you don't really expect them to pass very many times. As a matter of fact, junior QB Brandon Partee only threw it 3 times, but 2 of them happened to be for scores of 48 and 31 yards. So the Gosnell Pirates move to 1-0 and will host Osceola tonight in a Mississippi County rivalry game, while Newport will be on the road again against 5A East Greene County Tech. So let's take a time out for a quick message from National Scouting Report, and when we come back, NSR's own Larry Perrin will be here to talk about Newport and Gosnell and our big Tubetown dual broadcast here tonight. Don't go anywhere. 2 games in one night. Let's take a look at some of the area scores results from last week as we send you to the break. This is Prep Football Tonight. Welcome back to Prep Football Tonight. Now in studio is Larry Perrin of National Scouting Report. And we got our first taste last week of Arkansas prep football right there in one of your stomping grounds. Gosnell Newport came to town. Yep,
it was good from a historical standpoint to see Newport back playing Gosnell. That used to be a big rivalry, and Arkansas football was live this week, and it was exciting for a bunch of schools. We had a bunch of schools surprise us, and a bunch of schools do what we thought they would do.
Yeah. And we saw some of those scores going into the break. Paragould, how about Paragould?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have that sometimes when you're a 3A school like Rivercrest and you step up and play 5A, which they do again this week against Valley View. Attrition and numbers get you. Where Paragould can keep fresh kids in, and you're limited to the kids you have out there on the field, and most of your kids are playing both ways. So we'll see if Rivercrest can get things corrected this week. I think they are. I've talked to some of their staff this week, and they're confident about what they can do going in against Valley View.
Well, staying on Paragould for a moment, Larry, they got a chance to really do big things because they take on Pocahontas this week. That would be huge. Those were basically the best 2 teams in our region out of the state last year when you're talking about Rivercrest and Pocahontas. So 5A Paragould has a chance to do really big things first 2 weeks of the season.
Well, you're exactly right. We're going to find out what Paragould's made of. You know, Nettleton beat Pocahontas pretty good the other night. I don't know if Pocahontas had all their cylinders firing at the same time. I think they had a few kids that were injured, but they're getting them back, I believe. And so we'll really see what Paragould's made of this week against a very sound Pocahontas team that's coached by Coach Beatty, and they do a great job up there. So it ought to be an interesting game.
Well, last week, I believe it was last week, we talked about some of the up-and-coming teams in the area, and we saw 2 of those last week as well. How about Manila beating Westside, and then how about Truman shutting out Hoxie 34-0?
Well, you know, Truman, and I said this before, Truman on offense is as explosive as anybody. They run the double wing, but Gartman is a very unique fella. I mean, he can fly, and if he gets outside, you're not going to catch him. They can put up points on anybody. What surprised me is that they hung the collar on Hoxie. That's rare, and I know Coach Sears and them will get that corrected. Manila, not a surprise to me. I've seen them all summer long. They got speed, they've got size, they're well coached. These boys believe the culture has changed in Manila. It's a football town. And you go there on a Friday night and you see it, you hear it, you feel it with the support that community gives that program. And you've got it you've got good players at each level. You know, you've got good senior leadership on that team. You've got juniors like Bryce Carpenter. You've got sophomores like David Keys. You've got guys that are you got a ninth grade program down there that is as good as anybody around. So I'm not as surprised at Manila as much as I'm surprised at Westside for letting it happen. I think Westside is better than that score indicated the other night, and I think they'll get things rolling.
Well, and before we get back to kind of breaking down Newport and Gosnell, I want to mention just several of our area teams that got big wins in week one. Now, we mentioned, of course, Truman over Hoxie and Manila over Westside, but you also saw Brooklyn. Watch out for Brooklyn. Got a big win against Cedar Ridge, and Coach Spear gets to take on his former team, Corning, this week. But Brooklyn got the big win. Marktree got a big win. Cross County, EPC, they all, out of our area, got wins in week one to start the season.
Yeah, Brooklyn took care of business. And, Dallin O'Donohue had a huge game this week. And the offensive line played very well for Brooklyn. The defense did very well for Brooklyn. Reed Lane made a bunch of tackles back there defensively. Colton Potter, is just his steady self. Devin Sloan, the big defensive end from Brooklyn, just was a menace all night. So Brooklyn is we'll see again. We'll know a little bit more about them as they play Corning. Corning may not be able to handle Brooklyn's speed. We've seen that this summer at team camps. It's going to be interesting. NSR will be at this game this week, so we expect a huge crowd, and it's going to be exciting. Let's see, Cross County I saw that as pretty much how I felt they would go. Marktree.
Which, backing up Cross County real quick, they had a lot of question marks, losing guys, such as, Anthony Davis, of course, and then, of course, the guy you always brag on who is now just right up the street at ASU, Holden Biasi. So a lot of question marks surrounding Cross County, but they put up 43. Yeah,
and, they got some athletes, and again, they're building some tradition down there, and it's starting to show. The ninth grade bunch that moved up 10th graders, those boys are playing, and so watch out for Cross County in the next couple of years. Marktree, solid program. They built off what they did last year, and they're continuing to improve and get better. Coach Wallace and that bunch down there are running the double wing as well, so they get to control the clock, and he knows how to run it. And was not surprised at all about the Marktree outcome.
Now let's kind of review the game that we had on Tubetown, Newport at Gosnell. Newport, like I've said before, they're moving back into our region, so they're going to be playing a lot of our Region 3 teams in the area. I didn't know a whole lot what to expect, but we expected a physical game. And I got to tell you, Larry, Newport had their chances. I saw three different things play out and basically result in a Gosnell win. Newport had a huge fumble on the goal line, and that could have been the go-ahead score, could have been the win right there. Number two, Gosnell, is double wing. That was, what Coach Barbary was going to plan on doing going into the season, and power run, drive it down your throat, as he says. But two of the biggest plays were big pass plays. Brandon Partee threw it 3 times. 2 of them were touchdowns.
Right. One of the great thing about the double wing, again, this is just my philosophy, and I've coached this for years, but is it sets up the ability to pull people in, to get 10 in the box, and if you do that, you see that, you recognize it, then you can hit somebody over the top for big gain. Just like on the toss pass, you can get somebody outside and hit them and get behind them. And that's what being consistent and running the wing the way it's supposed to be run does for you. Is it sets every play, every series sets up something else. And Coach Barber and them did a good job. The crucial plays in the game, again, the fumble on the goal line. Mo Carthon came up and stuck that boy right in the mouth, and the ball just came out. And Gosnell recovered it. And then Carthon gets a big interception in the red zone on the next drive. So, Newport had their opportunities. Gosnell just capitalized on turnovers. And again, turnover margin is the most telling statistic in football. The people who win the turnover margin, turn them into points, are the ones who are going to win games.
Well, I enjoyed the game thoroughly because it really was like a big physical 4A dogfight, even though Newport moves back into our area, moving down to the 3A3, but this was like a big-time heavyweight 4A fight, and just a good game. And if Gosnell can get that kind of precision passing all season long, they're going to be dangerous, because if you do expect them to run at 95% of the time and they pop that long one on you, one of them was about 50 yards, one of them was about 40 yards, and they're going to be very dangerous.
Yep, it's just the nature of the offense. You never know what they're going to do. They're going to run up against some athletes a little bit different caliber this week with Osceola. Osceola's got a lot of speed in the secondary, and Osceola plays man-to-man. So I don't think they'll get beat on the deep pass because of the man-to-man. They're watching their keys coming off the line of scrimmage. But it's going to open up some other things for them. The runs, traditionally are going to hit some big runs because the corners and safeties are maybe bailing on a receiver. So, it'll be a different kind of ball game. But again, you never know what you're going to get out of Osceola now that they're running a two-package system. With the wishbone, which is Osceola's bread and butter for years, and now they've gone to spread, and DJ Fly's throwing the ball around. So it ought to be a great game. And again, this is one of those rivalry games that these kids' parents played against each other, and their parents played against each other, and and it means something to Mississippi County. Who wants to wear the crown in Mississippi County over there? And so. These kids are going to play hard. This is a tradition-rich game from old conference rivals.
Well, speaking of wearing the Mississippi County crown, we're going to keep an eye on that game tonight, but also next week we will be back in Gosnell for another big Mississippi County throwdown. Rivercrest and Gosnell, who 2 years ago was on Tubetown and played to a 29-29 all draw, so we look for that to be a great game as well. So, but let's stay right here. This week are one of our big games. There are two games this week from Tubetown. The Arkansas game is West Memphis at Blytheville. I know you're looking forward to this one. Big-time challenge for the Chickasaws here tonight.
Yeah, West Memphis went down, took care of business with Forest City. Forest City's a very good team. Forest City's in a conference with Blytheville. Forest City's loaded with athletes, and they kind of manhandled them a little bit. I'm not as familiar with West Memphis this year as I was last year, but they've got some guys coming up that can flat play. And I know coach's staff down there, Coach Elmore and them do a great job, and they're going to have their guys prepared. Blytheville, they went out and took care of business against Osceola like we figured they would when you're talking about jumping up two classifications. The starters for Blytheville got a little second half rest, and some of the young guys got to get in there and get some action and get some plays, which is going to help for the future. Coach Fisher wants to do that as much as possible to get those younger guys some experience. But this is going to be a different kind of ball game now. Now, Blytheville's stepping up in class and playing a team that matches them athletically, that matches them size-wise. So it again, is a renewed rivalry. This rivalry I played in myself. So it means a lot to both communities, 60 miles down the road from each other. There's still going to be people in the stands that know one another from years past. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how it turns out. Blytheville just better get ready to get hit and get hit often and see how they respond to it.
Big 6A foe here tonight in Blytheville with West Memphis. And this is going to be a treat for the fans at home because you have two really good running backs on both of these teams with, of course, D'Amico Clark of Blytheville. But West Memphis has a guy, and I saw some of the highlights on one of the Memphis news channels last week, named Martavius Thomas, number 21 for West Memphis, ran all over Forest City. So look for these two guys to provide some fireworks here tonight.
Yeah, but what makes Blytheville running back so good is that offensive line. They got guys like Larry Clark up there, who's 6'4", 280 pounds. Already got offers from Kansas and stuff like that. And that whole line is solid. And Coach Fisher and them call a good game plan. And DJ Moore, quarterback back there, is a good game manager. He does not lose games. He handles the ball well. He protects the ball, and he makes good decisions. So all of the system sets up to allow the running backs to have a big game.
So look forward to that here tonight. NFHS Network exclusive on Tubetown tonight will be the West Memphis Blytheville game. Again, check out nfhsnetwork.com and see how you can subscribe and watch that game live, or go to our website, tubetownonline.com, and follow the link provided there as well. But going to be a good one. And our other game of the night is going to be on Tubetown in Tennessee, Channel 11, but also on the NFHS Network is another big Tipton County rivalry game. Again, we said in the preseason show, we're going to see that Tipton County all shake out and all those rivalry games play out on Tubetown this year. Tonight is going to be Covington at Brighton. Both teams come in 2-1, and both teams have had tests so far. And these two teams are really the cream of the crop there, along with Mumford in Tipton County. Yeah,
you just, this is my first time this year to really look at Brighton. Last year we saw them, and they have had good athletes. They had speed. Wasn't really familiar with them this year until I got in studying a little bit. They've got some playmakers. But we know a little bit about Covington, and Covington defensively is very stingy. They play good, hard football. They shut down a Mumford team who has been on a roll since then.
Mumford team at 5A when Covington is 3A.
Yep, and they just totally stymied them that night. And now, granted, it was hot, it was muggy, but they won the turnover battle that night. And if they can cause turnovers again against Brighton, they're going to be in a good position. This team is a defensive-driven football team, and they're very good. They've got a lot of speed on defense. They've got some good size on the defensive line. And schematically, they just line up and hit you in the mouth.
Well, Covington's only loss is to Bolivar Central, and they were the number 2 team in the 3A in the state, not in the region, in the state. So, and they played them fairly well.
Yeah, Bolivar, a lot of teams are going to lose to Bolivar Central. And they will lose to them throughout the playoffs too. So losing to them is not going to hurt you in conference, because it's non-conference game. So you learn from it and you move on. I'm really impressed with this little Covington group here. I think they're a good ball club.
I look for them to make a pretty good run, considering we knew that they had a freshman quarterback last year, but didn't seem to phase them at all. They finished 9-3, went undefeated in conference play, and looked to be right back there again as well. Because, like you said, week 1 against Mumford, to physically be able to handle a 5A team as powerful as Mumford and win that game in a dogfight, 13-6, was very impressive.
Yeah.
Brighton, on the other hand, is just impressive. Their only loss of the season came to Dyer County, which was another top-ranked team in the state, and they just barely dropped that one.
Yeah, you go up against the Choctaws and you hold your own against them in a hostile environment, then you've played pretty good football. Again, I'm really interested to see what Brighton has this year. I haven't had a chance to really look at their athletes, so this is going to be fun for me to be able to see what kind of athletes they've got over there, because traditionally they're going to have 2 or 3 kids that can play. And so it's going to be a good ball game. Weather ought to be good. It's shaking out pretty good today, so it's supposed to be a little cooler tonight. So who knows how it's going to turn out. But again, if I had to make a prediction, just based on my knowledge of it, I'd have to give Covington the nod because of their defense.
And which is such a big statement, because again, this is another 3A versus 5A showdown. So Covington they've scheduled up, they're handling their own, and look to be very impressive this year again. And they're going to have that quarterback Brock Lomax for a few more years. Now, some of the guys to keep an eye out for, some of those athletes you mentioned on Brighton squad, is they got a couple of Maliks. Malik Jackson and Malik Matthews, number 2, Malik Jackson, number 12, Malik Matthews, also number 4, Dalton Rushing, are just a few of the names to keep an eye out on tonight. Saw some of their highlights last week, and the 2 Maliks were just passing the ball back and forth each other and just running all over the field. So look out for those guys tonight.
Yeah, athletes, anytime you got athletes and you got a ball out there, something good can happen. You just got to protect the ball. So, I just think it's going to come down to turnovers and who can control that clock. And again, I'm going to stick with my convictions here, based on the type of offense that Covington runs and the stingy defense that they got. I think that they're going to control the clock and keep Brighton's defense on the field and wear them down.
We also saw what T.J. Smith from Covington can do when that one play where he cut back and he ran 50 yards for a 30-yard score, but he did it. Great cutback. So he'll be another one running all over the field tonight in this matchup as well, so keep an eye out for him. So why don't we take a look at some other games, other local area games of interest. Let's start in Tennessee and see what the Tennessee schedule has tonight besides our big Covington-Brighton game. Let's see. I know Tiffany Rosemart is going to be at Macon Baptist. Sheffield, kind of close to where I grew up. Sheffield is going to be at Arlington. Arlington, you got to look out for Arlington.
Yeah, Arlington. They lost to Whitehaven last week.
A lot of people are going to lose to Whitehaven.
But they held their own, and there's a couple of guys over there that play linebacker, and they look like twins, and they're not even related. Nick Fortner and Logan Feathers, but those guys are racking up some tackles over there, so they're a very good ball club.
Let's see if we can switch that graphic out. That graphic, that schedule area games of interest looks a little bit old. Okay, we'll hold right there. That's the Arkansas games, but also a couple of games in Tennessee. Earl is going to Tennessee this week and taking on Halls, Tennessee. And then a huge game out of Tennessee this week as well. Whitehaven is at Ridgeway, 2 undefeated teams at this point.
Yeah, I went to this game 2 years ago when we had Braylon Rochelle from Whitehaven. And Whitehaven pulled it out in the end. It was at Haley Stadium, and it was standing room only. It was people on the track. This is a huge game between the two best football teams in Memphis right now.
Yeah. Ridgeway, one of those inner city powers, and then Whitehaven is just traditionally it's Whitehaven. You'll never see an environment like going to Whitehaven for a football game, but this is going to be a showdown. This is probably the best 2 teams out of the Memphis area for sure tonight. So there you go. There's the correct graphic there. But Millington is at Collierville. We saw that game last year, and we'll be at Millington soon to see them face Kirby. But Earl is traveling to Halls, Tennessee, and they'll face Halls, Tennessee. And then that Capper, Whitehaven at Ridgeway. Not really an area game, but I had to throw it in there because that is the game in the Memphis area coming up this weekend. So let's go ahead and move on and take a look at the Arkansas games of interest this week and see who is playing. Starting out, I know Cross County is going to be at Barton. Big contest for Cross County. We'll see if they can keep it rolling again, scoring 43 last week. Corning will be at Brooklyn. Coach Spear facing his old team. Look out for that one. You mentioned Osceola at Gosnell will be a big Mississippi County test as well. West Side, we'll see if they can bounce back and beat Hoxie like Truman did, or at least pick up the win. Harrisburg will be at Mark Tree. Paragould, we mentioned Paragould has got another huge test, this time at Pocahontas this week. Valley View is going to be at Rivercrest. Valley View fought Searcy pretty hard last week. Ended up falling by just a touchdown though, but that was a big game for Valley View and way to hang in there against Searcy at Searcy. They'll be at Rivercrest this week. Manila's going to be at Truman. That should be a good one. And EPC will be at Walnut Ridge this week. So out of those games, Larry, there's a lot to look forward to out of Arkansas tonight. Not only the game we're going to be at, West Memphis Blytheville, but that whole slate of games.
Yeah, that Manila-Truman game is going to be exciting. It's going to be a great contest. The Valley View Rivercrest game should be interesting. I think you'll see a different Rivercrest this week than they played against Paragould last week. You know, Freddie Ware and Bruce Parker and those guys they're going to turn it around. They're good enough athletes that they can recover from that. But again, if I had to, we're going to be at the Brooklyn Corning game. That Truman Manila game, is going to be special, very special.
A lot of scoreboard watching this week out of Northeast Arkansas as we are just in week 2, but just getting started, but some big games already on the schedule. So what do you say we get to it?
Let's go.
Thanks for being here in studio, Larry, and of National Scouting Report, and we'll see you out there in the field. I know, where do you plan to be? You mentioned
we'll be at Brooklyn
Corning. Okay.
Military Appreciation Night over there. Got invited to come by and scout the game, and really excited about the experience in the atmosphere and the culture at Brooklyn. So we're grateful to the people for inviting us to come by.
and that will be a big one as well. A lot of places to be for National Scouting Report and Tubetown tonight, covering 2 games, one in Arkansas, one in Tennessee as well. So don't you go anywhere. Prep Football Tonight will continue after this. We are now minutes away from a Prep Football Live dual broadcast from Tubetown. We have crews in Blytheville for the Chickasaws game against West Memphis and in Brighton for a Tipton County rivalry game with Covington. West Memphis and Blytheville started off the season with big wins last week. Coach Ben Fisher and his Chickasaws will look to send the Blue Devil bus home unhappy by giving the 6A foe their first loss of the season. It will be Tubetown's first look at the Chickasaws and senior running back D'Amico Clark this year, who finished last game with 17 carries for 220 yards and a pair of scores against Osceola. Senior quarterback Desmond Moore will have to play a little bit better against the 6A West Memphis than he did last week against Osceola in Week 1. So a big test for Blytheville here tonight. In the 7 meetings, the Chickasaws have won only 1 time. And again, the only way to watch this game live tonight is to subscribe to the NFHS Network. Go to nfhsnetwork.com, or there is a link on our website as well, tubetownonline.com. Create your NFHS account and search for Ritter Communications, and you will find the West Memphis Blytheville game ready and waiting for you live. Now, as for our other live game tonight, we saw Covington in Week 1 against Mumford. The Chargers looked impressive, knocking off the Cougars 13-6. They went on to beat Melrose before dropping their first contest of the year last week against Bolivar Central, who is the number 2 3A team in the state. So it will be the first of 2 games featuring the Brighton Cardinals this year on Tubetown. Brighton started the season with a big win over MAHS 42-6, then took on Dyer County, the number 8 team in the 4A, and dropped a close game 25-21 on the road. But they bounced back last week with a huge conference win over Southwind on the road again, 25-20. So tonight we have another big 5A versus 3A Tipton County rivalry game like we saw in Week 1. Both teams have fought hard for their 2-1 records at this point. Brighton is their last non-conference game before looking forward to conference play where they all count towards playoff seedings. Now, this game will be available on Ritter Communications, Tubetown Channel 11 in West Tennessee, as well as on the NFHS Network. Subscribe to the NFHS Network now by visiting nfhsnetwork.com or again by following the link on our website, tubetownonline.com. Thanks to Larry Perrin of National Scouting Report, and thanks to all of you for watching Prep Football Tonight. We now send you to Brighton, Tennessee for Covington and Brighton, where Chad Gatlin and Cade Carlton have the call, and to Blytheville for West Memphis versus Blytheville, where Andy Manus and Alex Smith have your call for our NFHS exclusive game. Enjoy the first ever dual broadcast from Tubetown. Have a great weekend, everyone.